Notice that each scale has a shape. That is, if you connected all the notes in a scale with a single line, a definite shape would emerge. When playing a scale from the lowest diatonic note on the instrument to the highest note, you see the scale shape over the whole instrument. It's very important that you start remembering these visual shapes as you play the scale. As you can see, not only do these scales have a definite shape, they also have a number of sticking possibilities. No one sticking is either right or wrong. What determines the best sticking will depend on the musical situation, that is, tempo, dynamics, articulation, and your own technical ability. In order for you to get a clear understanding of how well you're playing double strokes, I would suggest that you record yourself playing some scales or pieces that you've written using doubles and play it back to hear if what you're playing is clean and even sounding. Be very critical of how you sound and pinpoint if and where you're having problems. The pedal on the vibraphone is the means by which notes can be sustained and is the most basic way of phrasing on the instrument. As I described earlier in the program, the tip of the right foot is placed on the right edge of the pedal, which would be about 2 inches off the floor. The pedal is attached to a metal rod that is connected to a damper felt that sits beneath the bars. When the pedal is depressed, the damper felt moves down from the bars, letting them vibrate freely. The first important point to keep in mind when pedaling is to only press the pedal down far enough so the bars are able to ring. Don't get into the habit of pressing the pedal down to the floor. This is a waste of energy and has no effect on the sound of the bars ringing. The further you press the pedal down, the longer it will take for it to return to dampen the bars. The second important point is that the pedal is used for phrasing and not for timekeeping. Learn to use the pedal musically by developing a learned reflex between your feet and hands. There are a couple of different ways of using the pedal. The most obvious one is to press the pedal down each time you want a note to sustain. This type of pedaling is effective only in certain instances. Listen to the chromatic scale I'll play, pressing the pedal down as I strike each note. What do you hear? All the notes are ringing together. Remember that what you're trying to achieve as a vibe player is a solid, clean sound. That is, every note should be played with conviction and clarity. If the notes are ringing together and causing a blur of sound, then something is wrong. The reason the notes are ringing together is because I'm pressing the pedal down as I strike each note, and I'm not allowing enough time for the bars to settle into the felt to stop ringing before I press the pedal down again for the next note. Because of this, the notes are ringing together. In order to stop the ringing between the notes, you have to learn to press the pedal down after you strike the note. This is called after pedaling or post pedaling. It's exactly the same way that piano players pedal. Learning to pedal after you strike a note will enable you to get a good, clean sound where every note is crystal clear. I'll play the same chromatic scale again, but this time I'll pedal after I strike each note. Hear the difference? Each note is crystal clear and there's no ringing between the notes. How long you wait after you've struck the note before pressing the pedal down will depend on the tempo that you're playing. Notes ringing together because of incorrect pedaling is the biggest problem for most vibe players. Watch and listen to the following pieces I'll play and pay special attention to how and when I'm pedaling. How much you pedal is relative to the kind of sound you want. The tempo of the piece you're playing and the kind of emphasis you wish to place on certain notes is the determining factor. Most mallet parts that you'll have to read won't have any pedal indications at all. It will be your judgment to determine the best pedaling according to the situation. Being able to pedal in a number of ways will give you more options and flexibility. Listen to the different effects I can achieve playing the same piece, but changing the pedaling each time I play it. Dampening is a technique for phrasing that allows you to control the duration of a note. You can stop a note once it's ringing by either pressing a mallet into the bar or by pressing your hand or finger into the bar. These dampening techniques can only be accomplished with the damper bar down, allowing the bars to vibrate freely. By playing a melody and dampening each note as it moves into the next, you create a legato sound. This sound is smoother than that achieved by pedaling alone. Another benefit derived from dampening is the ability to change the color of a chord while letting part of the original harmony ring. Learning to slide the dampening mallet into the bar is the first step in dampening. The dampening mallet slides from the nodal point, where the chord runs through the bar, towards the center of the bar. By the time the mallet reaches the center of the bar, the note should already be dampened. Now I'll play C above middle C with mallet number 1 and dampen it with the same mallet. Notice that the pedal is pressed and that you don't hear any attack of the mallet dampening the bar. Watch and listen as I play other notes with the same mallet dampening the bar. Now I'll repeat the same procedure with the left hand. Now let's combine both hands to create a slur between the notes. Try and imagine that you're playing a wind instrument moving from one note to the next without taking a breath. Listen to the following example. In order to play this example correctly, you have to coordinate your hands so that you're playing the second note while you're dampening the first note. The mallet that's dampening should slide into the bar without any contact sound. There are a couple of key points to remember when practicing this example. The first is not to dampen the first note before playing the second one. This will cause a break in the sound. Also, be certain that you're not letting the first note ring while playing the second note. Remember, the goal is to achieve a continuous sound from one note into the next. There are other dampening techniques in addition to dampening notes with the same mallet. Let's say you wanted to play a scale slurring every note. If you dampened each note with the same mallet that struck the bar, you'd end up crossing your sticks over each other. When playing a series of consecutive notes up the instrument, the right hand plays the line while the left hand trails behind, dampening. The reverse is also true. When playing a series of consecutive notes down the instrument, the left hand plays the line while the right hand trails behind and dampens. The important point in this technique is that the mallet doing the dampening slides along the bars, dampening them without lifting off the bars. Another kind of dampening that can be used is hand dampening. This technique is more limited in its usage than mallet dampening. Hand dampening is used in situations where it's not convenient or possible to use mallet dampening. This technique is only used between the naturals and the accidentals. Observe the following example. In this situation, it would be difficult to dampen the F sharp with mallet number 3 and then move back down to play the low B with mallet number 4. The problem would be even more exaggerated at a very fast tempo. Hand dampening is accomplished by pressing the first and second joints of the second, third, fourth, and fifth fingers onto the bar being dampened. You can only hand dampen when playing with the first and fourth mallets. You also have to make sure that mallets number 2 and number 3 don't hit the keyboard as you're hand dampening. In this example, both the G and F sharp are played with mallet number 1. As you play the F sharp, place your fingers on the G to dampen it. You should dampen the G as you strike the F sharp. Make sure as you strike the F sharp and dampen the G, your inside number 2 mallet is high enough above the keyboard so it doesn't hit an extra note as you play the F sharp. Practice going from the G to the F sharp until you can dampen these notes smoothly. Another type of dampening is called slide dampening. This type of dampening is like hand dampening in that it's used in special situations. Slide dampening is limited in that it can only be used between 2 consecutive notes, either a whole step or a half step apart from each other. To play this example with slide dampening, strike the first note with mallet number 1. As you strike the second note with the same mallet, you dampen the first note by sliding the mallet laterally. The trick in this technique is to strike a note and slide the mallet in either direction fast enough to dampen the previous note. Another form of dampening is ghosting notes, or dead strokes. When playing a dead stroke, the mallet strikes the bar, but is not lifted off the bar, thus choking the sound of the note. This muted sound is used extensively in jazz improvisation, where certain notes will be muted in order to change the inflection of a line. Try playing one note with the mallet number 1, and alternate between a regular stroke, where the mallet lifts off the bar, and a dead stroke, where the mallet stays on the bar. Practice this with each of the 4 mallets. Notice that there is a very clear distinction between the dead stroke and the normal stroke. Another type of phrasing can be achieved by combining dampening, dead strokes, and pedaling. Watch and listen as I play the following example slowly so that each stroke is articulated clearly. The first note C is a dead stroke, and the second note D is dampened into the F. The pedal is pressed on the third beat. Even though the pedal is up on the second beat, it's still necessary to dampen the second note in order to achieve the right articulation and to avoid having the notes ring together. You can reverse the line so that it moves down rather than up. Another form of the same articulation is with two chromatic grace notes. Make sure that you follow all the sticking and pedal markings. You can again reverse the chromatic grace notes so that they move down. I hope you've enjoyed Volume 1 of this program. Now that you have a clear understanding of the musical fundamentals I've presented, your playing will begin to develop and expand so that you'll be able to express yourself through the language of music. Volume 2 of this program will present practical applications of these various techniques that will further develop your mallet keyboard musicianship.